Hi, everyone.
Hi. We're on page 58 of the Finished Mystery. And yes, for the last 6 pages, we've been in Revelation 3:14, talking about the Laodicean messenger, who, of course, in those days was just the person, Charles Taze Russell.
Mm-hmm.
They hadn't quite solidified the idea of the faithful, discreet slave being the dominant concept for the last age. It was the Laodicean messenger. And here in this particular section, they talk about how long this has been the case. They give you the chronology of the Laodicean messenger
Mm-hmm.
and when they think he was appointed. Here's what they say on page 58, about halfway down. Of the church of the Laodiceans in Laodicea, it is significant that in the first epoch of the church there were Nicolaitans. They give you the Greek, and they define that as meaning vanquishers of the people, a clergy class who succeeded in pulling the wool over the eyes of the common people. But that the last age of the church is Laodicean, that means, according to them, justice for the people. We find we get along much better without the clergy than we did with them. Well, I think by the end of this section we'll know that was not true. The Laodicean period of the church extends from the fall of 1874 to the spring of 1918. So is that clear? The Laodicean period's over in 1918.
Mm-hmm.
3.5 years of preparation and 40 years of harvest. So the harvest runs from 1878 then to 1918.
Mm-hmm.
The parallels affected, and here they're quoting themselves, by the way. This all seems to be from Zion's Watchtowerr of 1916, and then the subsequent quotes are from The Time Is at Hand, Russell's book.
Mm-hmm.
The parallel affected merely the nominal Jewish house there and the nominal Christian house here. Both were rejected because of failure to be in the right condition of heart for the truths that were due to them. Both rejected for destruction. The Jewish system was a church-state affair, paralleled here by the great church-state systems of Europe, whose destruction began, notice this, whose destruction began in 1914. Now they're actually attaching the end of that destruction to 1918. Let us remember, however, that the 3.5 years of Jesus' ministry were more a time of preparation of the apostles to be the instruments for the harvesting, and a sharpening preparation of the sickle of truth for the later work, which began at Pentecost. Prior to Pentecost, there was no garner into which to gather the wheat. Okay, so they're setting up this parallel system. Now they have a chart on page 59, Jewish and Christian parallels. And the two columns are Jewish nominal church and Christian nominal church. The first from AD 29 to 33. Interesting, they still have those dates for the beginning of Jesus' ministry and the end of it, 29 to 33. For the Christian nominal church, the parallel was AD 1874 to 1878. Now, both those dates have been totally scrapped, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And the scripture they cite there for that parallel is, they know not the time of their visitation. So clearly they're bragging about the fact they do know the time. And then they have parallel from AD 33 to 36. They still believe this too. And that was the period from the crucifixion of Christ. And in those days they did believe he was crucified and raised again. And the Pentecost situation to the end of Stephen's ministry, Stephen's death. So they still kept that idea, AD 33 to 36. They say the parallel to that is AD 1878 to 1881. And they say the most holy, anointed, divine favor prolonged for 3.5 years to complete the 70 weeks of favor promised to Israel, their rejection being deferred. So they have the rejection of Israel and this 3.5 extra years of favor from 1878 to 1881. Obviously that's been completely scrapped. Then they have a third parallel, which is AD 36 to 73, and that would be in the period from Stephen's death to after the destruction of Jerusalem. That would be Masada, the date of the last Jewish resistance in the war, the Jewish war, that would be 73. And the parallel to that is 1881 to 1918, 37 years. And they say about that, because of the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation or utter destruction. Notice this. What's going to happen in 1918? Utter destruction. Unlike, what's this? Until all that God has predetermined shall be accomplished. So it would all be over, as they had originally said 1914. Now they were saying 1918. Is it clear? Well, it is if you know the rest of the book. They double down on this later in the book, which we'll put a link into later, where they talk about in 1918, in the spring of 1918, the churches will be destroyed wholesale and millions of churchgoers will die.
The proof for all this is quoting themselves. The time is at hand. So here they say, the foregoing is Pastor Russell's last expression on the subject of chronology, and we believe that it was designed to be of great value to the Lord's people at this hour. The apostles, the prophets, and the angels all desired and sought earnestly to know what time the Spirit of God indicated through the prophets. And this interest on the part of his children is ever pleasing to God. He called the inquiring Daniel greatly beloved, and answered his inquiry so far as was consistent with his plan. Such inquiry should not be regarded as an improper prying into the secrets of God. God would have us quickly discern the truth as it becomes due. Let none, then, of the truly consecrated undervalue these prophetic time evidences, which were designed to guide our words and deeds in the early dawn of the millennial day. These prophetic time proofs were largely God's means of drawing the attention of the writer more carefully to other features of the divine plan.
Wow.
So this excusing their time setting, their speculations.
Yeah, they're justifying their concentration on the time prophecies.
Yeah.
Exactly against what Christ had advised the disciples to do.
Yeah.
It does not belong to you get knowledge of the times and seasons. You have said, even before this book was published, this is 1889, the second volume of the Studies in the Scriptures. You have said in this book what will happen by 1914. And now that the original prophecies have been exposed as wrong about 14, you're actually doubling down for 1918.
Yeah.
And that's the stress of this book, by the way, that it'll all be over by 18. The fire will fall down from heaven, they say later, in 1920. So it was all to be over. And then again, you were exposed as being a false prophet. So check out this book. The pages they're quoting here, I can't believe these words, where it says, these prophecies designed to guide our words and deeds in the early dawn of the millennial day, which they believe, by the way, started in 1872-73, the millennium. So in the early part of the millennium, they were busy preaching times and seasons, and they're actually boasting about it here.
Yeah, so it's pages 17 and 31
Yeah.
of the Time is at Hand that they quote.
Which was published again for another 10 years after the finished mystery. They were still distributing this book, although they changed some of the date specifics in it, which we get into in the playlist that we can attach here. So what's our link this time?
Our link is to later pages of the finished mystery. The finished mystery predicts that in 1918 God destroys the churches wholesale. Our Jehovah's Witnesses told this.
Yeah. Now that particular video is part of a series, a playlist that you might want to check out called Have Jehovah's Witnesses Ever Been God's Organization?
You mentioned that if you look up that quote, they actually say God destroys the churches wholesale and millions of Christians, right?
Yeah. And churchgoers by the millions, I think, is the actual phrase. So obviously another false prophecy. None of this happened in the spring of 1918. 1918, actually, World War I ended without Armageddon coming. Yeah. See you next time.